If you're overwhelmed as a leader, you're not alone. And the easiest solution is to delegate, right? So why aren't you doing that? Oh, that's right. You're afraid it's going to take too much time to explain it, and you can do it better yourself. That's one of the 5 delegation excuses to avoid, ones that lead you to sabotaging yourself as a leader. When you don't delegate, you're on the road to bad leadership. I'm going to take you off that road and put you on one to awesome leadership. Let's talk about how to avoid sabotaging yourself when delegating. As an executive coach, I've heard many reasons from leaders of all levels, from new managers to C-level executives, about why they can't delegate or why delegation doesn't work. Here's the thing. They aren't reasons why they can't delegate, they're excuses. If you use some of these excuses, you're not just avoiding delegation, you're making your job harder. My goal is to make your job easier, and delegation, it sure helps. The first delegation excuse to avoid is one that trips up managers around the world in any industry and any company. Doesn't matter if you're on the floor of a retail store or the 5th floor of an office building. The first excuse leaders use is they might mess it up. First of all, kudos to you. You're smart. You're right. They might mess it up. They absolutely might mess it up. Here's the thing though. Hardly anybody wants to make a mistake, wants to mess up. After working with leaders and teams around the world for 25 years, I know a few things about people. And you know what? Very few people start each day wanting to make a mistake. The vast majority of people, and I'm guessing no one on your team, comes to work and wants to mess up. They want to do a good job. They want to succeed. And saying you can't delegate because they might mess it up doesn't cut it. That's an excuse far too many leaders fall for. What happens if you delegate and somebody makes a mistake? Because it's going to happen. You're going to schedule one-on-one time with them and let them know how they can change their behaviors in the future. Help them to execute based on expectations. And then I want you to consider this. What about if they don't mess it up? They might get it right. They might do a great job. How will you know unless you delegate and provide the opportunity? I want you to consider this excuse is about fear, your fear that an employee might make a mistake. And you're worried that makes you look bad. Don't argue with me. You know that you're worried about the mistake and what it'll do to the business, but you're also worried about your reputation at the same time. Don't fall for this excuse. Don't fall for telling yourself they might mess it up. Another excuse I hear from leaders who want to avoid delegation is, I can do it better myself and faster. Yes, of course you can. You can probably accomplish the task better and faster, especially if it's one you've been doing for a long time. Here's what I want you to think about. Do you want to hold on to this task? No. Can you hold on to this task? No. I want you to delegate knowing that the first or second time, or maybe a few more, you're going to need to double check the work, maybe carefully. You'll need to help the employee understand what to do and how to do it. When you want to use this excuse, when you say, I can do it better myself and faster too, I want you to remember that your expertise isn't the reason to avoid delegation. You're smart. And that doesn't mean others aren't smart or don't have the capability to grow. You've learned along the way in your career, and so will they. Allow your employees to learn how to do things right, even if that means they make an initial mistake or 2 or 3. After all, most people learn quickly after making mistakes. Then there's delegation excuse number 3. I told her what to do, but she didn't get it, and I don't want to micromanage, so I'll do it myself. 2 things are going on here. Number 1, a team member didn't accomplish a task in the right or best manner the first time. Guess what? Most people don't get it right in first, including you, me, and all the people at work today with you. You can troubleshoot this by taking a step back and providing some additional context to somebody when delegating. Remember that it's your job to train people how to do it and how you want to get it done, if that's the case too. The good news is that in the future, the task will then be accomplished the way you train somebody to do it. Now, second thing going on here, the fear of being a micromanager. Yeah, it's a big fear. I've met thousands of leaders. I've trained over 20,000 of them in person. Yes, some of them are micromanagers, but very few of them. This is an overblown fear. In this case, it's another excuse leaders use to avoid delegating. Correcting people isn't micromanaging. If you're sharing what to do and how to do it, and you're using open-ended questions, and you're making the conversation a dialogue, and then holding someone accountable, you're not micromanaging, you're active managing. Are you enjoying this video? Click subscribe to make sure you get notified when I post the next one about awesome leadership. Okay, time for delegation excuse number 4. What about if they do it better than me? Take a deep breath. I have a secret for you. Come closer. Closer. You ready? Your team should perform tasks better than you. That's why they're on your team, right? You should be hiring people smarter than you. Awesome leaders hire people with experience, passion, and initiative. You hire somebody who can do what you do and do it better than you can. And that's because you want to elevate your work and tasks. You want to spend more time on new, interesting work, building relationships with stakeholders, and impacting the strategy of your team, company, department, all of those things. And that will happen when you're open to recruiting people with skills better than yours, training them, and then delegating to them. Then there's the excuse that usually comes up after a leader has listened to the first 4 excuses and agreed, yep, they can do better, they can improve. And then they say this, I don't have the time to delegate. I've got too much to do. So you think you have no time to delegate. Yep, I get it. Yeah, and this is precisely why you must delegate. The people who don't have time to delegate are the ones who need to do it the most. They don't realize that by delegating, they free up time to invest in more important and urgent things on their list. So don't tell yourself you don't have the time to delegate. You do. Right now, after hearing these excuses, you might be thinking, okay, I think I used some of these excuses. It makes sense, but stop right there, my friend. No buts, no excuses. I know excuses creep into people's heads and take over, leading leaders and managers to hesitate to delegate. I want you to choose to change your mindset by avoiding making excuses on why you can't delegate. Here's how to do it. Pick one excuse you use and then reword it. Instead of saying they might mess it up, say they might make a mistake, and that's understandable. I make mistakes too. You're developing an ability to see and accept opportunities to delegate. If this video has been useful, I'd love if you'd click subscribe to make sure you see the next one I post. No buts, no excuses. Time to click to subscribe and also time to delegate. Lead with ease, my friends. I'll talk to you in the next video.